Hello everyone, it's Carol here at Aakash Journals. Thanks for joining me. This is an idea I had originally that I was going to use for a tag, but I was looking at my Alice in Wonderland journal today and thought, well, actually it would work equally as well as a journal page. So as you can see, I've printed out two images on white cardstock of a door, and with this first image I'm cutting round the door on three sides and not on the fourth side because I'm going to score it as I'm doing there and fold it back so that my door opens. So with the second image, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use that to back the door on the first image because, as I said, I've printed it out on white cardstock, so it's white on the reverse. So I'm using this second image to actually back the door so that when it opens it's blue on both sides. So I've just roughly trimmed it down. I'm just feeling my way here to see how this is going to work. I've trimmed it down more or less to size, but there is a little bit of an overlap, so I'm just marking where that overlap is, ready for cutting it away. And that's what I'm doing here. It is a little bit wider, as you can see. I've just folded it back, and that piece that I've just folded back there will reinforce the hinge for my door. Here I've got some double-sided tape and some magnets, so I'm putting a strip of double-sided tape down one side of the what will be the reverse of the door, and I'm just positioning three very tiny magnets. Now these magnets are I think they're 1 millimeter in width and 0.5 millimeter in depth. So they're stuck down on sticky tape, and I'm just putting another little portion of sticky tape over the top of each one, and then I'll go round and burnish the second lot of tape really well so that the magnets are sandwiched between two portions of sticky tape. Peeling off the backing here. There we go. And then I'm putting glue all the way round the magnets, being careful not to go over the top of the magnets, and then I'm gluing the whole thing in place on the back of the door. So the magnets are trapped between the two layers, and here I'm just gluing that extra hinge portion just to reinforce that hinge, as I said. So there we go, that's my door all nicely done with magnets in place. So this is the journal page that door is going to go on, and I've got some very pale bluey green paper, and what I'm doing is I'm using that paper throughout my Alice journal to give some continuity throughout, and I want this colour as my background, so I've cut out a portion of it, as you can see, to the size of my journal page, and my door's going to go over the top like that. I've already glued in place, or put in place, an image of Alice squeezed into a very small space. Obviously when she drinks the potion she expands in size, and that's the image that I wanted when she's in place behind the door. So the image is just held in place at the moment with those paper clips, and now what I'm doing is I'm putting magnets down the image, and they are adhering in place by magnetic force to the magnets that's on the back of the door. And here I'm just holding the other magnets in place with some double-sided tape, and now I'm going to glue my image in place just all the way around the door frame so that when the door opens you'll see this image of Alice behind it. And I will, once this image is glued in place, I will go in with another sheet of book page or book text and just cover the whole of the back, because I decide that I want to make this as a pocket or a side pocket, and because that image of Alice is a little bit shorter than the whole door frame image, I need to stop it anything that goes into that pocket from catching. So I've printed off here another copy, or another copy of that image of the door, and I'm cutting down what would be the brickwork on that right hand side, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a moment. So I'm just gradually fussy cutting that outside edge, and then I'm cutting it away. Now the rest of the door I'm going to discard, I don't need that, but I just want those brickwork or that stonework on the left hand side. As you can see, I'm just offering it up there. I think that will just add some nice interest to my door frame, and also it will mean that my image is slightly wider and will take up more of the page. So just adding a little bit of vintage photo to the edges and also to my door, just to get rid of the white edges where I've cut it with my scissors. So here I'm just going in and gluing those that strip of brickwork in place. So gluing it at the top there and then at the bottom. So that and the background piece are still separate. As you can see, I've just gone round the door image with a stitch or a couple of lines of machine stitching. I've also done a thumb notch there, and I've also gone round the background coloured page as well, just to add some interest. Now I'm gluing that coloured page to my journal page, just using Pritt stick, lining it up and just giving it a bit of burnish. This was quite a lightweight journal page, so this has reinforced it as well, which I'm quite pleased about. So there we go, and then here's my door image coming in, and I'm thinking I'm just about going to have it there. And as you can see, I've covered the whole of the back with some book page, so that when I create my pocket by gluing it on 3 sides, which is what I'm doing here, it will not have any edges that will catch when I put a journaling card inside that side pocket. So there we go, glued on 3 sides, thumb notch on the right hand side, which I've also put a little bit of vintage photo distress ink around the edge of that as well. So there we go, there's my image of Alice inside, really squeezed in there. So this is exactly the same image, and what I've got here is a page from an old book that is the right colour. So I'm just folding it in half and just trimming off the torn edge, just checking that it will go in there nicely, and it will. And here I'm just adding some glue stick or Pritt stick inside to glue that page shut. There we go. Had a lovely texture to this vintage paper, perfect colour as well. So as I say, this is exactly the same image as the one that I used behind the door that opens, and all I'm doing is I'm roughly ripping round the outside of the image. There we go. Now I decide it looks a little bit plain on there, so I'm trying out some of the book page, and I'm deciding that that's too white. Then I decide to go in with some vintage German ledger paper, which is what I've got here. And this is a piece I've just roughly torn, but I do decide I want it to be slightly smaller than the actual plain background. So here I am just ripping off a little smidgen off one side. There we go, just offering it up to check that it fits. And there's my image. So here I am gluing a very much enlarged Alice onto the ledger paper. I've gone round it on my sewing machine with a couple of rows of messy machine stitching just for interest, and again my usual vintage photo distress ink to ink the edges. Don't need to do that on that plain background vintage book page because that had a nice edging to it already. So here I am just gluing it in place onto the background, checking the right side rather, and giving it a good burnish with my bone folder. So here I've got a couple of labels that I think I'm going to use, so I put a dab of glue just to hold two of the labels together, using my tiny attacher to add a staple. And then I've got some cheesecloth style or type of fabric, and I've just pulled out some threads, made a little bit of a nest. This is a clock image, and I'm just going to add the labels and this clock image on top of that nest of threads just for a bit of interest in that bottom left hand corner. There we go. And this is the scrap of cheesecloth style fabric that I got that little nest of threads. I've decided that I want to do some sort of closure on my door. If I'm honest, I forgot completely about doing that before I glued the backing onto the door. So I'm using a scrap of fabric. I'm doubling it over because it frays badly. So I've just doubled it over and used art glitter glue to secure it, and I'm doing the same thing with the piece of fabric on the reverse, doubling it over and then gluing it in place with art glitter glue, and then I go in with a quilter's clip just to hold that in place. And I want to do exactly the same thing with this little journaling card. So again, another little scrap that I'm doubling over, sitting it in place with some art glitter glue on the front, same on the back, fold it over and then fold it over again. And then a different style of quilter's clip to hold it in place whilst it dries. There we go. Quick tidy up. Now whilst that's drying, I want to use the same coloured paper on the opposite page to tie the two pages in together. As you can see, it is piano roll paper and it's got a red dotted line down the left hand side. So here I'm just using a piece of vintage book paper, book text, and then slotting in that scrap of same background paper as I used on the opposite page. I've got a Alice in Wonderland playing card, and I want to use that to decorate my bottom left hand corner. I've got some little pieces of lace to soften it, which I think will be quite nice, and it's the same lace that I've been using throughout this journal. Again, I've got another scrap of that little blue cheesecloth style fabric, and that label Just So Big, which I think will tie in with the fact that she's drunk the drink and has got so big. And this is a little red Alice in Wonderland faux washi stamp, which I thought would go well with the red diamond on the playing card. So just going in with some vintage photo ink to ink my edges and my playing card as well. Little bit of glue to hold my card in place, and then glue just dabbed onto the back of my lace just to hold it in place. Art glitter glue is a really good fabric glue, really like it, and of course it dries clear, so it's ideal if you're a little bit over generous or there's some seepage. So I've got some lace down that left hand side, just checking that it's a side tuck, so just checking that it's all still open. Not trusting that the washi sticker is going to stay in place, so I've put a bit of glue behind that, and also behind that little piece of blue fabric, and then my label over the top. Now it's all very wonky, and I do go in and reposition everything, but I'm not showing that on camera. I'm trying to make you think I can get it perfectly aligned first time, but anybody that watches me knows that I can't put anything straight. So here I'm just going in with another little fragment of leftover lace. I just thought that that would be nice to bring that lace round and over the top of the diamond. So here I put a faux washi stamp behind on that journaling card. So there we go. I'm coming in here with another one of those little faux washi stamps, because rule of 3 means I need to pick up some more red and tie it in, and I just thought it would add an extra little detail in that top left hand corner. So I'm looking at it and thinking I'm finished, but then I spotted this tiny little scrap of lace on my desk, and I just think I need to tie in the lace that's on the left hand page with my door on the right hand side. But I decide I actually like this little piece of lace down at the bottom there on the left hand page. But then I spot this bit and true to form, I'm looking to see if I can add some lace on the right hand side page. Perfect curve here, and I'm wondering whether it might be OTT or not to add a little piece of lace over the door, whether it will spoil the look of it. And in the end I decide I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to do it. I just feel that it's right to tie in the left hand page and the lace I've used there with what's going on the right hand side. So I cut out that little piece of lace and I put it over the curve of the door, and there is a tiny scrap left on my desk, and I think that that might be nice to add to what is the door closure, or the handle on the door now. And here I am just putting some glue on that piece that's going to go over the top of the door, just little dabs onto each of the pieces, or onto each of the flowers rather, using my tweezers to put it in place, and then going in with my bone folder just to try and make sure I get that curve lined up perfectly, or as best I can I should say. And there we go. So there's Alice tucked away in there, and there's a journaling card that pulls out with the same image on, space for writing on the back. And then I've got that little side tuck on the left hand side there, and I'm just showing that I could put something in it, and I will do at some stage, but that's all I'm going to do today. So thank you so much everybody for watching. Take care. Bye bye now.